Speak freely, speak comfortably, but if you feel like you want to say
G-rated?
something again, it's Rick rated, so that, yeah, whatever you bring to the table is all you.
All right.
So yeah, you know, my name's Kenji. I'm
Okay.
a filmmaker from Hawaii, and I'm here for the first time in Wisconsin, first time in Mount Horeb, for this documentary about Gonstead Chiropractic Care.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm interviewing the big dogs. I'm getting testimony. I'm doing all of that.
Okay.
That's kind of my self-intro. So let's hear yours, starting with my name is, and go into it.
Okay. Name's Rick Elbert.
And then we'll go into what you do, how long you've
Okay.
been doing it, where you do it.
Okay, I'm a chiropractor. Graduated from Palmer in 1977. I started coming up to seminars in 1974. While Doc was still alive, I saw him in the latter part of his career. I graduated from Palmer in 77. I opened my practice up in Ames, Iowa in 78. Practiced there until 2012, and I sold the practice there. I moved over to Ogden, Iowa. Moved back by where my wife was from, and the drive back and forth to Ames wasn't going to be a big deal initially, and then it was. And there was 5 nights we didn't get home. There's about 15 nights we shouldn't have been out on the road anyhow. That first winter we had a lot of snow. I was the head intern for 6 months in the Troxel intern program, worked with Dr. Troxel for a year. Dr. Troxel rebuilt me after I blew my low back out back in '94, and I learned a lot about empathy then as far as what a patient goes through when they are totally debilitated. I got to the point where I couldn't walk, I couldn't do nothing, and I spent 3 weeks in his basement. He literally rebuilt me. So,
You know what? I've heard lots of these sort of anecdotal or first-hand experience cases like that of I was before and then I was after, and I hear yours now. But that's after you were already a chiropractor, correct?
yeah, you want to know how I got into it?
Well,
Or
I
not?
heard a lot. Well,
Okay.
But also, like, how did that change you? Because I got people's, like, how did I get into it? But you were already in it when you had this kind of
Sure.
rebuilding experience, as you say. How did that change you as a chiropractor?
All right, let's back up a little bit. Okay, went to my 25th class reunion in July of '74, and my wife and I went out to Boston. She'd never been out there, and I had some freaking flyer miles. Went out there on vacation. We picked up all our luggage, and she had her stuff in a roller bag, and she headed down the ramp with it. I had a suitcase in each hand, camera bag around my neck, hanger bag over each shoulder, head down 3 steps to go to the car rental place. So I caught the hanger bag on the railing, whipped my little back around, tore it bad. And didn't know anybody out in the Boston area, so I lived on ibuprofen for the 10 days while I was out there. And came back home and went to see the chiropractor who was taking care of it, and Roger Casbrower. And he said, "Man, you really messed your back up." He said, "You need to take some time off." I said, "I can't take any time off. I just took 10 days off. I can't." He said, "Okay." Well, so he started seeing me once a day, and for about 2 or 3 weeks, and I just went like that. And after about 3 weeks, I got to the point where, okay, this is how smart I was. I'm walking with a cane, but I'm trying to stay in shape. So I'm out there with a cane, walking 2 miles every morning. Now that's using this for a lot. And finally got to the point I couldn't walk. My bowels shut down for 10 days. The last day I was home, I came back. I tried to go for my walk. I got to the end of the driveway. I couldn't go any further, so I came back and told the wife, I said, "You're going to have to drive me to work, and then you'll have to take me down to Davenport and have Dr. Troxel work on me." She says, "Well, that's not going to work." And I said, "What do you mean it's not going to work?" She said, "Well, you're not going to be able to drive from where I live to Davenport because it's 3 hours without stopping and go to the bathroom. What do I do if you go down in a rest area?" So we called some interns up, and Dan Lyons and one of his friends came up and drove me down to Dr. Troxel's office. They took some new films on me, and I can remember laying back there in the back on the bench, and he came in and he says, "Oh, you messed yourself up pretty good, didn't you?" I said, "Yeah, I did, T." And he says, "Okay." Dan was standing there. He said, "Dan," he said, "I want you to stand over here." And Dan says, "Don't you want me holding his leg?" And he said, "I want you to stand up there by his head." Okay, so he had somebody else hold my leg, and T set my low back, and as he set the low back, the pain was such that I came up with a closed fist and Dan caught it. And he says, that's what I wanted you up here for, Dan, thank you very much. And then they took me up to Trox's place, and I spent 3 weeks in his basement. He adjusted me in the morning, adjusted me in the afternoon when we got back from work, and we did that. And I had my food brought down to me, and after about 2.5, 3 weeks, I was getting to the point where I could ambulate a little bit better, and actually got to come upstairs for supper one night, and that was a major thing. So I learned a lot of things from that. First of all, when you're hurt, I don't care how bad you are, you got to get the dumb thing fixed. I didn't do it. I went 3 weeks and tried to power through it because I was trying to take care of my patients. Guess what? Patients can't get taken care of unless the doctor's healthy. Had to have somebody come in and run my office for me while I was gone for 3 weeks. Then even after I came back and was back in the office, I was seeing the guy who was taking care of me before, Dr. Kasperbauer. Saw him daily for another month, and I was 3 times a week for about 3 or 4 months, and then down to twice a week, and then down to once a week. And that's how bad I tore the thing. I didn't realize how bad it was until I was talking to Dr. Pam here a couple of years ago, and she says, you know, when you came over to our place, she said, we were really worried about you because you were really messed up. They never said nothing to me about it or anything like that. They just did their thing, and I got better, and here I am. Didn't have to have the surgery, didn't have to do any of that stuff, but I did learn a lot of empathy for my patients, a lot more then, or excuse me, since then than what I had before, because you know, I'd had some car accidents, I got beat up pretty bad in them, but you know, nothing like that. You know, I thought it was done.
So when you say empathy, right, how important of a tool, if we were to say empathy is a tool, is that? Because I know you've got the nerve scope.
Yeah.
I know you've got all these tables, right? You got the X-ray.
Yep. The big thing is, somebody comes in that's as messed up as I was, I can look at them and say, I can help you, but do you want to be helped? Well, yeah, I do. Well, what are you willing to give up? Now, I'm not talking about money. The big thing is time and repetition. Time and repetition. You adjust it, let it sit for a while, adjust it, let it sit for a while, adjust it, let it sit for a while. Each adjustment builds on the one before. But too often somebody comes in and they expect the chiropractic miracle. I've had a few of those. And they make you feel real warm and fuzzy, but then when the person comes back 8 years later in much worse shape than what they were because you fixed them once and they didn't take care of it. Now, I take care of myself a lot more now than I did then. There's a whole lot of stuff that I don't do. I'm overweight, I'll be the first to admit that. That being said, I'm probably healthier than anybody my age that I know of. Now, I can't run with the big dogs, can't do that, but I can walk. I can ride my bike. I ride my bike a lot. You know, up until I messed myself up last year and this year. 3 years ago I rode 3,000 miles on a bicycle outside. The year before that was about 3,300. Last year was 1,800, this year we're about to 800. But I've had some health issues this year. So the big thing is, as they say, I've walked the walk, I can talk the talk. And I've got that with a cane hanging in my front reception room in my office. And people ask me about that, I said, well, that's how bad I was. You know, I had to get around with a cane for 6-8 weeks. Well, actually, it was close to probably 10, 12 weeks. And then I gradually got back into it. And again, there's a whole lot to this thing of life. You know, right now they say the human body's couldn't last 130, 140 years if you take care of it. The key word is to take care of it from the get-go and don't try to start when you're my age. That doesn't work.
So it's proactive.
Yep, that's a good way, proactive.
And so, in your experience then, all the people who walk through your door, your clinic's door, how many people are coming in with a problem versus how many people are coming in to prevent one?
It's about 50-50 right now. Okay, as I tell my when I sold my practice in Ames, moved to Ogden, I told all the patients Ames I'm retired in practice to Ogden. So I retired over there. Still kept the same hours. And about 3 years ago, my daughter says, you know what, you came over here, you told your patient you're going to retire in practice, you haven't changed your hours. You're not going to work on Tuesdays anymore. So I quit working Tuesdays. And it was okay. I like it a lot. Big thing with it is, my patients know where I'm at. My patients have my cell phone. If somebody's got a problem, I tell them, if you've got a problem on the weekend, call me. I'll come in and take care of you. I'd rather take care of you on the weekend than have this problem set up for 2 or 3 days and have it be a lot worse to come in when I come in on Monday to work on it. And I do the same thing with myself. If I got a problem on the weekend, I'll call the guy who takes care of me. And we get together and do it. And I'm religious about it. I get adjusted at least twice a week. But then again, I've had an inordinate amount of trauma in my lifetime. Years ago, we had a seminar, it was a GAT seminar up in Copper Mountain, Colorado. And you were supposed to write down the number of traumatic incidents you'd had. Well, I won the contest hands down. Back then, I'd been rear-ended like 12 or 13 times. I'd been in 3 semi-truck wrecks, boot camp, the Marine Corps, put a farm tractor in a dredge ditch, couple, 3 concussions. You know, since then I've had 3 or 4 more concussions and that, but they always rebuilt me. And the irony of this thing is, in our seminars, the films that we use as the normals are the ones that were taken on me back in the early 90s after I'd had all those accidents, and Dr. Trox and Dr. Kaspar rebuilt me. And I had really, really good curves in my back then.
Are these films available?
Yeah, they're part of the seminar.
This one?
Yeah, they're part of the GMI ones. They're part of the case management seminar. No, excuse me, I'm not dissing or anything like that.
No.
You didn't know that.
Yeah.
No, that's me. And most of the pictures, most of the films that are used on that, in our seminar series are from my office of patients that I've taken care of.
So, how do you differentiate to me Gonstead chiropractic care
Versus somebody else?
I mean, because I have a lot of options if I go on a Google search.
Sure, you betcha. And
if I talk to people, right? There's a lot of ideas of what it means. So why don't you clarify for me what Gonstead is?
The big difference about Gonstead is Clarence had a system. You get your case history, talk to the patient about what their problem is, find out whether it's a sympathetic problem or parasympathetic problem. You got the instrumentation. You scope the patient after you do your examination, scope the patient, put a BB on the back where they find the nerve pressure. That way you can correlate where your nerve pressure is to the film. Somebody tells you you find a problem with 5th lumbar. Okay, are you sure it's 5th lumbar? I've been doing this for a while, and sometimes you're surprised. It's not where you think it is. That's why it's so important to put a BB on there, because it makes a difference in where you're going to adjust the person and how you adjust them. So you got the case history, you got your examination, you got your nervous scope, you take your x-ray, you do your motion, static palpation, motion palpation, and your visualization. There's no other chiropractic technique that does that kind of stuff. Leg checks, you can have a short leg on when a person's standing up, you lay them down, it'll switch the other way because of a problem down the lower back. So what does that mean? It doesn't tell you a blessed thing if you're using that as the only thing you're going by. It's a system, and the blessed thing works. That's the cool part about it. I've got about 3,000 slides in my x-ray show that I've got that show pre and post, what happens with a person, how we can change the lumbar curve, how we can change the angles and all that stuff. Nobody else has got that. We got it hands down.
And what is the relationship? I've asked this to some other doctors, but I want to hear your response. Tell me the relationship between medicine and chiropractic.
It's real easy. Life-saving care, life-generating care. Emergency care is necessary. If you're having a stroke, don't come see me. If you've had a fall and you got bones sticking out of you, don't come see me. After you get that fixed up, come on in. It's okay. But most people my age are on 5 or 6 medications. I don't take any medication. I take a handful of vitamins every day. I drink a lot of water every day, but I don't take any medications. If I go to my pulmonologist and they ask me what I take, I'm nothing. And most of them don't have any patients my age that aren't taking any drugs. Most of them are taking 5 or 6 of them. And you know what? There was a guy by the name of Eli Lilly. You ever hear him? He founded the Eli Lilly Drug Company. So Lilly drugs, Eli Lilly. Eli Lilly said there is no medicine or no drug that's manufactured that doesn't have 2 or 3 major side effects. And most of your patients come in with 1 drug they're taking for the problem and 2 or 3 drugs for the side effects of that drug. Now, we adjust a person, and it doesn't do that. I mean, it's cool. I love it. I love what I do. I love what I do because you can see the change in the people's eyes. We take posture pictures of patients, and to see the change in their posture is amazing. You have these ladies, these old dowagers, as you start working with, they start getting taller, they start moving better. I mean, it's exciting. I like to take care of old people. And that's kind of a rarity because most people think that old people are just a bunch of crotchety old rascals. And they are, but you know what else? They got money. And they'd like to spend their money to feel better. And the care that I give them most of the time isn't going to be paid by your insurance because it's classified as chronic care or what they call, not high risk, high cost patients. And that's the big thing that really sets insurance companies on their ear, or Medicare or something like that, because they're spending more money taking care of people that have arthritis and degenerative diseases than they are on people that have heart attacks, strokes, and all that stuff, because it costs more to keep people functioning. And we've got a big thing of function. I mean, when you find some grandfather that can't even hold his grandkids, I mean, that's terrible. But after a while, hey, I can hold my grandkids. I can play catch with them. I can go swimming with them. To see the stuff that these older people can do just makes you feel warm and fuzzy. But you get some of these people come on, my back hurts a little bit, just pop it, doc. Well, okay, fine, we still do the same workup on them. And my biggest problem years ago was I cared more about my patient's care than what the patient did. And I had one of my office people said, you know what, doc, you care more about what's going on with the patient than the patient does. And I said, you know what, you're right. So now I put it back in their lap. I tell them what their options are ahead of time. What are you looking for? Are you looking for pain relief? Are you looking for better function? Are you looking for better health? Most of them are looking for pain relief. So we ask them, okay, if we find something to help you with that can make your body work better, you're interested in that? Well, yeah, okay. So then you go through the report of findings with them, go over their x-rays and stuff, show them what they got going on, show them the initial exam and says, this is where you're starting. And, it's going to take 4 to 6 months to get you where I want you to be. I don't know if that's where you want to be, but that's where I want you to be. And at that point in time, you can decide whether or not you want to stay there or not. And it's up to you.
How do people react to that 4 to 6 month time frame?
The older people are into it. And a lot of the younger ones, if they have a bad problem, they're into it also. But if you get somebody that's a 20, 25-year-old guy that's a computer geek or something like that, when pain's gone, I'm gone. Or like when I was working over in Ames, you take care of a student, okay, I can go see Dr. Elbert and pay $50 for an adjustment. I can go out and get drunk twice. And when I was in Ames, it was, are you in my insurance plan? Will you bill my parents? Ames is a college town. I get over to Ogden, it is, can I get in today? Do you take cash? And it's a totally different type of practice over there.
Because I asked that 4 to 6 month how do people react question because I've heard multiple times already that to get good, or to get good is so subjective, to get proficient, let's say, at adjusting, it takes a long time.
Yeah.
And I've heard 5 to 10 years, and people doing it 40 plus years are still like, I'm still figuring out
learning
things, right?
Yeah.
So what is it that I would say in general, the general public, what is it with like these longer time frames that is, let's say, a turn off to them?
Why would it be a turn off to the people?
Yeah,
Everybody looks at it in money. Okay, but you gotta look at it like this. Okay, you've had a problem for 30 years. I tell them like this, okay, you've had a problem for 30 years. I can help you with it. Now, God can take that and He can fix you one adjustment. I ain't God. He's a good friend of mine, but I'm not God. But along the same lines, it ain't going to happen if you want it done quicker. It just doesn't happen. And that's why I schedule my care plans so that every 10 to 12 visits we do an ortho-neuro exam, do ranges of motion, orthopedic tests, dynamometer stuff, posture checks and that. After the first, when we do the first exam, we do and the first re-exam, take a new set of x-rays. I may take another set of x-rays 6 months or a year down the road. We do a new set of exams on them every 10 to 12 visits, and we compare the old one to the new one. We do EMG scans with them and thermal scans, and you'll see improvement on it. You'll see improvement. The biggest thing you see is the people come in. I had a guy come in last week. I rate my pain at a 5, doc. Well, you touch him, he jumps up like you stuck him in the butt with a hot shot. And I said, well, how much? Okay, you said you took Tylenol, ibuprofen, Allegra, and Wellbutrin. I said, well, how many ibuprofen you had the last 2 days? 12. How many Tylenol you had the last 2 days? 2 days. 12. How many Allegra you had? 6. How many Wellbutrin? 2. Okay, so here's what we got to do. First of all, we got to get you feeling better. Then we got to get you feeling better with less over-the-counter stuff. And then hopefully as you get better than that, you can get rid of some of this other medication that you're taking. So we've got different stages of care that I'm looking to change. If you're looking for pain relief, go take some more of the over-the-counter stuff. Eventually you get to the point where it'll knock the pain down or you'll have kidney failure. So I mean, it's one way or the other, you're going to be over the problem.
So you sort of build it out like a step system, and you just lay that out to them.
You know, and you can make the decision. I used to, anytime a patient quit on me years ago, I felt bad, like I didn't do something right. And then, like I said, this lady pointed it out to me, and I thought, well, hell, let's put it back on their back. And I had a guy, a mentor, Tony Palermo, he said, it's not your decision, doc, it's theirs. And the thing is, you can help them. The thing is, how bad do they want it? And we got some people that come in that have been to 5 or 6 different chiropractors, 3 or 4 MDs, and they still got the same problem. Well, how come the other guys didn't do this to me? See, there's the big thing right there. Most of the time when my patients get done with their examination, when I get done examining them, a couple things have happened. One, they can tell me they've had the best exam they've ever had in their life because they've been anywhere else. Mayo Clinic, Iowa City, Des Moines, better exam than anybody else. And when I do my exam on them also, I find where the nerve pressure is, and we find which type of motion loads that disc up and causes them pain and distress. And I reaffirm that in the patient's mind by contact. Where's it hurt? Right here. Is this the spot? No, that's not where it hurts. How about here? Yeah. Okay. So then you adjust it a few times, and as you start doing that, it still hurts, but the quality of the pain changes. The intensity of the pain changes. It all dials down like that. And the way I make a report to them is when the vertebra misaligns, the first part of the nerve gets the valgus part controls muscle function. Muscles tighten up. What do you do when you have a tight muscle? It's not a trick question. And they'll say, well, I massage. I said, yeah, well, don't you stretch? You do this stuff like this or this or this. Yeah, okay, you got a problem before it starts to hurt. Next part of the nerve gets the valgus part control and function of the organs. Every organ receives nerve supply from 3 or 4 different levels, so if you pinch one nerve, it doesn't kill the organ, but the organ doesn't function 100%, and neither do you. It's like a rheostat. Then we get 75% of the dumb thing pinched, that's when it starts to hurt. So pain is the last thing to show up, first thing to go away. Absence of pain is not health. Absence of pain is not health. And there's 10 or 12 different functions to the nerve. I knew them for the test in school. Pain, hot, cold, light touch, heavy touch, proprioception, position sense, and there's 3 or 4 other ones that are gone in the abyss. So, but that's the way I run my store, and some people buy into it, and that's okay, and some people don't, and that's okay too. It's all right. But my patients know that they've got my cell phone number, and like I tell them, I'll come in and take care of you on the weekend, but I do have a life, and sometime I'm gone. When I'm gone, as soon as I get back, we will get together, we will get your problem worked on. And they're cool with that.
Just a couple more, if you guys had any questions
I'm sorry, I looked the wrong way.
No, you're good. And you can look at me when I'm asking too. Yeah. So I wanted to go back to your injury that you had.
Sure.
And, you spent some time with Dr. Troxel, and even when you initially came in, they told you that eventually, they were a little worried about you when you first came in.
They never told me that.
Well, they told you that later on, right?
About 2 years ago.
Oh.
This was 94.
So what is it about, I'm sure you were sure that he was going to take care of you, and it's because of the Gonstead system. And I kind of want to know why you had confidence in him, knowing that you're like, you know what, I'm in all this pain, like after 3 weeks, I'm sure you didn't feel amazing after the first adjustment. So what is it about this system and what he did that you were like, I know that I'm going to be taken care of here?
You're familiar with FCB and PSI?
Please.
Oh, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Yeah, sure, go
Okay.
ahead, sure.
FCB and PSI. Okay, this goes back to Parker seminars 45, 50 years ago. Jimmy Parker got there. The patient has to have faith, confidence, the doctor has to have faith, confidence, and belief in your products, service, and ideas. Otherwise, you're dead in the water. Okay? Now, I saw Gonstead. Gonstead adjusted me a few times. I remember the first time he adjusted me was at a seminar, and he says, "Anybody here got a C7 problem?" So I go out there and he checks. "Oh, you've been going to the Palmer Clinic, haven't you?" "No, sir, I've been going to Dr. Troxel." "Oh, okay. Now see here, Larry. This doctor's got a 6 cervical problem instead of a 7 cervical problem. He's got a 6 cervical problem. You make sure you adjust that one." So then he adjusted me, and I never heard a thing. I never really felt a thing. I just felt this. And okay, so he got done adjusting. I went to get up, and he held me down in the chair, and he says, "Just stay here for a second." A good friend of mine, Dave Johnson, was sitting in the back room. He says, "Your face went white as a sheet, and then you turned blood red, and then you came back to white, and then you came back to normal. And when you came back to normal, then he said, 'Okay, you can get up now.'" Now, I've had patients in the past, when you adjust them, they go to sit up, they'll get lightheaded and fall down if they try to get up too quick. And that's part of the orthostatic thing with your heart when you get up. But as far as getting back to what her question was, as far as why did I feel that way, I've had patients come in with 5, 6 back surgeries, and they're a train wreck. I took care of a fellow over in Ames that had a hemorrhoidectomy. He had had 31 of those procedures done on him, 31 hemorrhoidectomies. I mean, you can't count that many. It's just wrong. And I'm thinking, what the heck? It's not for me. And like I say, I've had some people where I've been able to help them when they've had serious stuff like that. I'm not good on cancer, but I can help with a lot of musculoskeletal stuff. And Troxel rebuilt me after 3 or 4 car accidents. I mean, you talk about having faith in somebody. The guy walked on water. When he wouldn't take a dime for the 3 weeks I spent in his basement, he says, "Just pass on, come up to seminars, help out, teach, do what you need to do," and that's what I'm doing. So I don't know if I answered your question, but it's just one of those things where over time I've got a hell of a lot more faith in what I do than what medicine does. Now, that being said, I had a fellow come in about a year and a half ago. He's been a patient for about 9 years. He had a bad car accident years ago, and he's one side of his body's paralyzed. And when they took him in the hospital, his parents were there, and they got him stabilized, and the doctor came out, and they said, "Well, how bad is he?" He said, "Well, we took out about half of his brain because there's nothing but squash and shards." And his dad brought him in the office in a wheelchair, and his kid was having migraine headaches. So we took care of him for several months. He's been a good patient ever since, and his mom brings him in every 2 weeks. We adjust him. He still has problems with his left side, but my goal with him was to get him out of the wheelchair. We got him out of the wheelchair, got him walking with a walker, and now he walks with a cane. And then back then I was doing hunts for hunters with impairments, and he came over and he did a hunt with he did 5 or 6 hunts with me while I was doing those, and then I had the concussion, I couldn't do them anymore. But he finally got his first turkey hunting this past year. Brought it in, showed it to him. You talk about a proud guy, and this guy's 40 years old, but he's able to get around with a cane now when he was just being pushed around in a wheelchair by his parents. And it ain't what I did, it's what Gonstead Chiropractic did, because we examined him, took the x-rays, did the work on him, and he responded like he should have. And I'm not God, I didn't fix anything, I just adjusted him and the body did the rest. And that's, I mean, I got confidence. I know students will come up and they'll look at some of the people I'm taking care of, and they look at their x-rays on the film on the box, and they think, "What the hell are you touching that for? They won't let us touch that in school." I said, "Yeah, that's why we're here, because we do stuff that they won't do." Like back in '93, when I had one lady came in, she broke her back, and about the same time another guy had a bad fall and he busted his pelvis, and we took care of some of those, and I was at a seminar and talked to Greg Plogger about it, and 6 months later we had 2 articles in JMPT about chiropractors treating fractures. You talk about going out on a limb and sawing it off behind you. Back then, that was heady. Now, right now, I've got about probably 35 or 40 cases that I've got in my slideshow of fractured people, excuse me. The verbiage I use is patients with chiropractic problems that also have spinal or pelvic fractures. So you find the find the subluxation, accept it where you find it, adjust it, and then the patient gets better.
You mentioned, I want to focus on these two words, faith and confidence.
Yeah.
So I think it's safe to say most people here today have faith and confidence in Gonstead technique and the system, right? What about, because Dr. Bill
Pollock.
Yes, it talked about diabetes, and he said all these other problems, and they can be fixed with this system. So, you know, one thing I asked him, and I want to ask you as well, is what needs to be done to put this faith and confidence outside of this community of people who are practicing it, people retired from it, people who have experienced it. How can we put this faith and confidence in the general public, specifically in this country, in America?
Well, when Gonstead was alive, maybe you heard this already today, Bill Graham came up here and got treated, and he wanted Gonstead to go on TV, and he wanted to brag up Gonstead chiropractic in general for the masses. And Gonstead said, no, the public isn't ready for it. And we're not ready for it because the media controls that, and we can't control the media. That's the biggest problem with it. That, and then in the schools now, they've taken all the philosophy out of the schools. There isn't zip for philosophy in schools unless you go to life college. The philosophy's not there, and you've got to have the philosophy to get the faith, confidence, and belief in what you're doing. Question, dear?
No,
okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I thought she was waving her hand.
No,
sorry.
So that philosophy,
Yeah.
if you could elevate or pitch that to me, what is that philosophy?
Well, there's a God. Okay, and I'm not making this a Jesus thing either. Okay? Back when you formed within your mother, the sperm and egg came together, and lo and behold, after 9 months, presto, there you are. Now, most people get subluxated during the birth process. Okay? You're trying to push an orange through a garden hose. It's just that simple. And babies get traumatized. I got traumatized. I had a lot of earaches when I was a kid. I had a lot of issues, for lack of a better way of putting it. My mom was a nurse, and anytime I had a sniffle or anything like that, we went and got shots. I got all the vaccinations, I got all the antibiotics and all that stuff, and it didn't help squat. And then when I started going to chiropractic and got my first adjustment, I went from having headaches every day. My mom called me taking 14 aspirin dry for a headache. I had allergy problems. I'd go through 2 bandanas a day in school, blowing my nose. I didn't do good in school. I was an A student in grade school. I couldn't buy a C in high school until Mom got me to the chiropractor and he started adjusting me. I was an A student my last year of school, but I couldn't buy a C prior to that. And then when I quit college and went in the Marine Corps, I went through boot camp with 2 guys that flunked out of chiropractic school. And our platoon commander had migraine headaches, and he had them ever since he was shot over in Vietnam. And here we are 8 years later, he comes in the red nose, he's having a migraine, guess who he took it out on? All of us prives. We're going to go out here to the sand pits, boys, and we're going to do push-ups until I get tired. So these 2 guys started talking to him about chiropractic and migraine headaches, and they literally stacked up 4 foot lockers, took 2 blankets on top of him and adjusted him. The second time they adjusted, they knocked a migraine headache out of him. He thought it was flipping the voodoo. He didn't know whether to spit or go blind. And then that night, or excuse me, after that at night, we'd go to bed. These 2 guys would slip out of their bunks. You'd watch them go over to the duty hut. Look out the window, you see these old grizzled DIs go limping into this duty hut and go walking out. They were running a mini clinic out of the duty hut for free for these DIs. And I decided then that if somebody that flunked out of chiropractic school could help somebody who had the best medical care the Navy had to offer, there had to be something about this. That's how you get faith, confidence, and belief. I mean, you see it. And I can't believe that these 2 guys did that. And they're still practicing. And the one guy was the first guy hired by the Navy to treat people.
So, just one more time, I just want
Sure.
to hear you say, like, when you're explaining to someone sitting next to you at the bus stop or whatever.
You want my elevator lecture?
No, about the philosophy though.
Okay.
Like, what is that philosophy? Because you were saying that the philosophy.
The philosophy is what gives you confidence in what you do. Okay? I haven't been vaccinated. I'm part of the control group. You know, I think I've probably got one of the better immune systems in the state of Iowa, simply because I've been adjusted, and as I get adjusted more and more and more and more, my immune system gets better and better and better. Now, how do I get that across to the masses? It's tough. And the whole reason for that is, do you ever see a chiropractic ad on TV? How many drug ads do you see per hour on TV? Okay? Legislatively, the NRA, they've got 3 lobbyists, and their lobbying fund is $30 million. Big Pharma, $300+ million, and 1,600 lobbyists. The NRA is who everybody's after because they're bad. Do you trust Big Pharma?
Would a lobbyist change it then?
No.
Money change it?
Money would change a lot of it. You know, if we had George Soros pushing behind us instead of pushing what he's pushing, we'd be in good shape. I mean, he drops $1 billion just for kicks and giggles.
And to wrap it up, unless you guys had anything else, I was gonna.
No, I think I'm good. Well, actually, no. Yes, I remember now. Sorry. So I know you went through the classes. So you went through until you got to GAT with Dr. Gonstead, or the advanced technique.
Okay, let's back up a little bit on this. Okay, I was going through school. I took 10 or 11 seminars up here while the old man was alive. He died about a year after I graduated, or shortly after I died, pardon me.
Yeah.
And I went through the intern program. I spent a full year doing that. Prior to that, I was coming up here to the seminars, and I was doing club at the school, and I was also doing the intern classes. So I got dipped in what chiropractic is that way. Did I answer what you're saying, or where am I going with this? Okay, then after I got out, I came back for some seminars that the Gonstead Advanced Technique was doing. That was the group that Doc formed at the end after he got kicked out of the clinic up here. And those people, he showed some of the stuff to them that he never shared with the other people that were working with him. And he shared that with us, and then I eventually got into the teaching thing. After a while, when you're showing up at every seminar and they're asking you to help out a little bit, okay, then what Dr. Trox will do is, okay, Rick, you're doing pretty good here today. You go up there and teach this part of the seminar. And he literally just drop you in the deep water, sink or swim. And back then, I have to say the students were very kind. They were very tolerant of me and everything like that. But I mean, I said some things that were wrong back then because I didn't know. But then again, there's a lot of stuff that I know now that I'm sharing that other people don't know. So maybe that answers your question, I hope. Okay. And like I say, having been up here and seen the old man when he was what he was, I didn't have nearly the experience Dr. Pollock did. But along the same lines, you know, I'd never trade what I've been doing for the last 40-some years for anything.
So we'd like to wrap up with, instead of talking to me, you're going to talk right into this camera. So your eyes will be right here.
Yes, sir.
And you're talking first person to students, to people who are interested, people who are maybe into something else and considering jumping on that path of chiropractic care, Gonstead system. So just a message to them as someone
Okay.
who's been in it.
For all you students out there, the first thing you need to do is get some philosophy. And the best way to get it is right here at our Gonstead Methodology seminars, because we talk a lot about that. More importantly, you need to come up here and learn about it, because Gonstead is the only chiropractic technique that has a system that will work as far as finding the problem in the patient, accepting the problem where it is, and correcting it. Now, that's what the old man used to say. My thing is, find it, accept where you find it, correct it, and then before you leave it, and before you quit taking care of them, take another set of x-rays so you compare the original set to the next set, so you have some sort of an idea what the patient looks like when they're healthy. But more importantly, work at it, work at it, work at it. Gonstead said it takes about 5 years to figure out how to run a nervoscope correctly. It takes another 5 years after that before you can correlate that to what you're finding on the patient. And practice, practice, practice. You come, as Jimmy Parker used to say, you have to know to go. You have to go to know to grow, and that's what you have to do with this. A lot of the stuff I'm talking about here is Parker stuff, but that's business stuff. As far as true chiropractic, Gonstead methodology's got its act together. And if you want to come learn from the best, come on up to the hill.
Thank you, Dr. Ray.
Thank you so much. That was amazing.
Yeah.
Getting back to your question, people don't want to change their lifestyle or anything like that because of their problem. And they don't sometimes want to do what you want to do. I've got one teaching aid in my office that works really, really, really well. I've got a rubber mallet. I take the mallet and I say, okay, what do you do, John? You know, how are you messing yourself up? Well, I hurt myself mowing the yard. Are you going to take some time off? No, I can't do that. Okay, John, here. Now take this hammer. Yeah. Now I want you to smack yourself upside the head just as hard as you can. You keep doing it and tell me when it starts to feel better, because that's exactly what you're doing to your spine when you're mowing your yard like that. Thank you.
Nice.
I like it.
Did that help?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for patients
There's-
who are like,
okay.
I'm not getting better, but...
There's another one too here.
Go for it, yeah.
1 second. Here we go. Ready? Okay. Take the patient's arm and start rubbing on it. Okay, John, does that hurt? No. If I did it for an hour, would it hurt? Probably not. See, when you're out there walking around and doing what you're doing the same thing to that disc down there and that nerve is what you're doing to your arm here. Now, if I rub that for 24 hours, you think I'll probably wear some hair off? Yeah. If I do it for a week, you think I'll probably leave a red mark? Yeah, you probably leave a red mark. You might even get through the skin. So when do you want to get better? Probably when you stop doing it. That's enough. Sorry.
I
No,
like that.
I love examples. Examples of analogies, examples, so thanks for those last two.
Yeah, that's okay.
I'm stealing that.
Hey, no, listen, the most sincere form of admiration is an imitation. Absolutely. Anything else, my dear?
No, and that was it.
Okay.
And it's just hard for like people to...
No, and again,
like,
at your
even
point in
yourself,
time, it's
probably
okay.
hard for you to...
Yeah, it took a long time to get to the point where I could BS with the best of them.